Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Coffee with the Critters, where we live stream every Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. And for those that may be new, my name is Laura Joseph, owner of the Animal Behavior Center. We're an international educational center where we teach people all over the world how to understand animals through understanding their behavior. And we do that through our live streaming services, which you can find on our website at theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. And you can also contact me at any time at Lara, Lara, at theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. And hey, Jeannie, there you can find more information about our memberships, which are in detailed, ongoing live stream training, Q&As, topics, in depth, and guiding you step by step through whatever challenges you may be facing with the animals in your care, no matter where you are caring for them from, whether it's your home, the organization you work at, or the organization you want to work at. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start this week's episode, which is in celebration. We're in episode 2 because last month marked our 13 years in business as the Animal Behavior Center. And after independent contractor, I then started the Animal Behavior Center to branch out and reach more people. And I've worked with a lot of different animals, several different species of animals, staff, in many different scenarios. And I'm here to tell you, people think they think they understand behavior, but very few people are measuring it. And today's topic is on data collection. It may not sound important, but it's extremely important. And observation without measurement becomes assumption. And assumption isn't science. Collecting data is science. And in applied behavior analysis, we collect observable and measurable data. So if you're not measuring behavior, you're guessing. And if you're guessing, you're designing care based on assumptions, impressions, and welfare improves when behavior is measurable and observable. We take that information, then you always hear me say, the first thing I do when I start working with an animal is I sit back and I observe. I observe what it's moving towards, what it's moving away from, what certain behaviors may look like. So, good morning, everybody. If you're attending today's live stream, it's probably because you're serious. And I really only want the people here that are very serious about improving welfare of the animals in their care and knowing and learning how to do better. So in celebration of our 13 years in business, I'm doing something intentional over the next couple of weeks. Last week, we had a topic on understanding enrichment and arousal over stimulation. Each week, I'm opening access to something substantial, not a product, not a discount, but real quality learning. And last week, I offered to record a podcast for somebody that wanted something in particular, specifically for an individual situation. And the person that I had picked, I will be reaching out to you this week because I'm getting ready to record that podcast, is Sharon Harrell. So And for this next week, I am going to pick one person, and you are going to receive a 20-minute online consultation. And our online consultations are offered for whoever wants them. But if you're in our memberships, we offer them at a discounted price. And consultations are also part of our advanced membership. And I created the memberships based on the ongoing need for advice and guidance after the consultations are over, because once they're over, then you start applying, then you have questions, and that's why I created the memberships. So then I have you for a whole year so I can continue to guide you along your training, behavior change plans, which hopefully all include foraging and enrichment. So if you're watching this, to be considered for this 20-minute consultation, comment on this post at any time today, tomorrow, within the next week, before next Saturday at noon Eastern, and share any type of success, challenge, question you have related to enrichment, training, or behavior, animal welfare. And I will select one response. So last week we talked about enrichment and increasing arousal and that overstimulation and engagement. But how do we actually determine that? What does arousal and overstimulation look like? If you want to know, watch last week's episode. But how do we actually determine? And that answer is simple: data. Behavior is measurable through observable variables. Example, latency, how long it takes the animal to engage. For an example, with latency, if I'm asking an animal, if I'm asking a recall and I ask that animal to come to me, do I get that behavior like right now? Is that animal engaged in something and it stops what it does and it responds and comes to me right now? Does the animal pause, look around? What else is interesting? And then come to me after hesitation? That's usually not what I want. I want response right now, for numerous different reasons. But that's what I want. If I don't get it, then I need to train it. I need to, and training is communication, interacting with that animal through antecedents, collecting data on the behavior and the consequences. But behavior is also measurable through duration. How long does that engagement last? If we're looking at foraging, how long is the animal interacting with searching for its food? Also, observation, I'm looking at frequency. How often does a behavior occur? If this is a desired behavior, I'm measuring it. If it's an undesired behavior, I'm measuring it. Because undesirable behavior may be undesirable to us, but it serves a purpose and a function for the animal. And observable variables also are in intensity, how escalated the behavior becomes. Is that a behavior we want or a behavior we don't want? Even with undesirable behavior, we need to observe and collect data. Variability, how flexible the behavior patterns are. These measurements allow us to move from, I think it worked, to the data shows it did work. And that's where assumption really confuses the animal and it confuses us and it really blurs the lines of what is actually happening. And why data. Melanie says, I need help with latency with my gray. Ask me, Melanie. Ask me in the Parrot Project. Let's get it done. Why data matters. And this is why I don't expect a lot of people attending this live stream, because I think people look at it and say, "I don't know what that means," or "That's not important." If you're here, you know how important it is. And those are the people I want joining my Coffee with the Critters, are the ones that are serious about understanding behavior, because if you understand behavior, you're going to increase animal welfare. And if you don't understand, I will help you. And this is why data matters. Without data, training decisions seem to drift, not seem as important. Enrichment becomes subjective, and welfare claims become opinion. Without data, or no, with data, I'm sorry, patterns become visible. You start understanding. You start saying, yes, this desired behavior is increasing. And at the same time, I'm observing and measuring, yes, this undesired behavior is decreasing. And that is exactly what we want. With data, improvements become measurable. The dog is barking when somebody approaches the door. Today it was 4 times versus yesterday it was 15. And I'm observing this with environmental change, and a training plan in place. And also with data, improvements become measurable, care becomes intentional. So you don't need complicated software. You need clear behavioral definitions, consistent observation, simple recording systems. And this is why I tell people to keep a journal. And some people who don't, do I keep a journal all the time? No. Do I keep charts? Yes. Um, because when we're not paying attention, and or if we are paying attention, and people that are really struggling with this, I will say keep a journal. When you're, especially when you're working with an intense, really frustrating behavior, keep a journal, because that journal, the documentation and the data you put in that journal, is going to be your positive reinforcer behind, yes, this is working. Because last week, all of this undesired behavior was happening. This week, your list of undesirable behaviors is getting smaller, while your list of desirable behaviors is getting larger. And because it may not seem like it's making much of a difference to you because you're seeing it every day, but when you jot it down, you can see, yes, behavior is changing. Every basic track, even basic tracking, can reveal patterns you would otherwise miss. And observable questions data can answer are: did the enrichment increase engagement duration? Did pacing decrease after behavior modification plan started happening? Did training latency improve over time? Did reinforcement schedules affect consistency? These are welfare questions, and these are data. Professional animal care improves when we stop relying on labels such as the animal's jealous, the animal is, I don't know, in constructs, the animal's happy, the animal's unhappy. Um, and professional animal care improves in our approaches the more we apply, and approaches in what others have tried. Behavior tells us what is happening. Data tells us whether it's improving, how it's changing, its current rate, the rate after we have implemented documented change. And after 13 years of doing this work, that distinction matters more than ever. So before we close, I'm going to ask you, what behavior in your animals would look different if you had been measuring it from the beginning? So in order to be considered for this 20-minute online consultation, I want to hear from you. You can direct message me, you can email me, you can comment here, you can comment here before next Sunday or Saturday. So if you've liked the information we have shown you in this live stream, do take a look at our memberships at theanimalbehaviorcenter.com. You will also find our other services there. And because I'm on the wrong one. Also, Coffee with Critters is now a podcast where you can listen to weekly wherever you listen to your podcast. For those of you that follow the Sam I Can Foundation, which is our nonprofit, I want to give a huge thank you to everybody that contributed to my fundraiser I started for Stan on building a better world for Stan, because we accomplished our goal. And if you are in the Cincinnati area, the end of the month on April 30th, I will be presenting at the Animal Behavior Management and International Association of Avian Trainers and Educator Conference in Cincinnati. And I believe that starts on, oh, right there it says March 29th through April 2nd. If you are there, let me know. I would like to meet you. I would like to see you. I would like to talk to you and sit down and see what happens. And with that being said, I want to say thank you, and I will see you next week on our third episode in celebrating our 13 years of anniversary of opening the Animal Behavior Center. Thank you, everybody.